we're also pushing for that. And hopefully, that's something that can come to a reality also in joining efforts with the county.
Councilor Casey?
I agree with Councilor Montoya. I think it would be beneficial if the city manager would speak to the Litherlands and find out exactly what it is that they want. It's their money, and if we can get more money to enhance what they want, I think that would be a wise move. We could have a beautiful park with benches and still make it a dog park or make it a food park without having to have tables there for people to eat, just so that they can sit while they're waiting for their food to be prepared, and then they can get in their car and drive away. So there are several options that we can do so that I don't want to lose the money that they're willing to give us. And so they've been very generous, and they were kind to offer. And so I would like to honor their wishes, at least, partially, if we can.
So Mr. City Manager, is that clear enough? You got that?
Yes, I will call Mr. Litherland this coming week, and we will chat on what the intention of the donation would be to the city of Las Vegas.
Thank you.
So council, in all fairness, can we set a deadline for the city manager to have that done by? The next meeting's fine?
Yes, I'll state that with my motion.
Okay, go ahead.
My motion was to go ahead and recommend that we put the food truck park on item number 3 for the largest tax request, with the city manager checking with the Litherlands on that funding for the memorial before the next meeting.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Montoya, second by Councilor Casey. Roll call.
Councilor Casey? Councilor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Montoya, a second by Councilor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to our next item, discussion direction on a new effluent system for Hanna Park and upgrades to the sprinkler system in the Plaza Park. Councilor Montoya?
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, we've invested, I believe it's $680,000 on running the influent water line from City Hall on Grand Avenue all the way up to Legion, through Grand and Mountain View and up to Legion. So presently, we're doing reconstruction there on Legion, and unfortunately, we didn't have a sprinkler system this year for the soccer kids to be playing in it. So I'm requesting, and I have asked the city manager to do some quotes on replacing or redoing the water sprinkler water system that was there 18 years ago, which used to sprinkler drinking water. Now we have the influent water there, so we might as well utilize it. He did get a quote of $200,000, and he does have another quote for, I believe, $70-some thousand. And my intention is to make sure that next summer we have green grass for the kids to play in. And also the tree board is wanting to have a plan and design of that park so that they can plant some trees. But they won't do that till we have water in place. So basically that bid is, I don't know if we need the 30 bid or not, or if that's the sole bidders on it, but we do need to, I would like to move forward on it. It's not a legislative request. It's not a largest tax request. I would suggest that the funding come from the general fund, and in all reality, I would discuss all projects with mayor and council and see what projects you all have for this next year, and ask our city manager and our finance director to come up with some numbers that we can utilize from the budget. I know we have some monies there, and I think that we can assist ourselves by doing road projects and improving the parks, improving sidewalks, and projects like those. So that's my request, and I would ask that we move in that direction.
So, Councilor Casey?
All our parks need so much work, but Hannah Park has been an issue for many, many years. When I was first on the council in 2016, that was an issue that Councilor Howell kept bringing up over and over again. And I think pretty much all that was done was that they ran a tractor over it to kind of smooth out the lumps in the dirt, and that's about all. So I agree with Councilor Montoya that, you know, if we can find the money to put in a new effluent water line in there so that we can have grass for the kids to play on, and maybe, you know, later on purchase picnic tables and whatever else is needed out there so that people can actually enjoy watching their kids play instead of having to sit in their cars and crane their necks trying to watch their children play.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Montoya?
Yeah, the other part to this is the city manager is already working on an assessment for all parks, or, I mean, we'll ask him to speak on it, but he's doing his $11,000 assessment for different parks as to what the needs and wants are the parks. So, Mr. Maestas, can you brief us on that one?
Yes, Mayor and Council. So as Councilor Montoya stated, we did visit with a landscape vendor out of Las Cruces that's on state contract. They came up to Las Vegas about 3-4 months ago when we were having some issues with our sprinkler systems at different parks. They did give us a umbrella quote to be able to come in with 4 of their staff members to give us 40 hours of their time to assess whichever of the parks that we visited, which would at the time was Carnegie Library, Plaza Park, possibly Lincoln Park, to do an assessment of what needs to be done to get those better in working order and to change out up to 10 different sprinkler heads. And that was just over $11,000. When in regards to Hannah Park, we did solicit 2 different quotes. One of them is over $150,000. That's to put a new affluent line sprinkler system in. The other one is just about $90,000 for the same type of service. The other thing that we're not taking into consideration is that back 20 years ago, that property was sodded, and that sod is now beyond its life. It would have to either be reseeded from scratch, or new sod would have to be implemented and installed into that park. So there's those 2 factors. We can definitely get a quote to do the sprinkler system and sodding or seeding. There's another portion of that to energize the line, and if Miss Gilberry is there in the room, I'd hope that she could express how that line is energized, because it is not always full with water. Miss Gilberry, are you there in the room today?
Yes, Mr. Manager. Let me come up to the microphone. Mayor Romero, Council, Mr. Manager. So to clarify the current condition with our effluent for Hannah Park, we have a 2-directional line right now that feeds water from the golf course to the City Hall tank, which allows us then to pump from the City Hall tank to Hannah Park. Everything has to be operated manually. So we have to adjust valves, turn the pumps on, pump to Hannah Park, make sure that we are pumping water before they open the valves, because there's a balance between making sure that we're pumping and sending the water to Hannah Park. So right now, everything is operated manually. This was a multi-phase project over many years to get all of the parks' water, including Hannah Park. So one of the next phases on the water side, providing water side, is to get the second line installed from, I believe it's supposed to come from Carnegie or Columbia to City Hall. And that is because right now we're using the inlet outlet line for both things. So we have to change the direction in how the water flows. The ultimate goal is to have two lines, an inlet line and an outlet line, so that we can provide water to the tank constantly and pull water from the tank constantly. So that is another portion of this whole big picture, is that project will need to continue, so that we're not having to manually operate everything and leave somebody at right now we have to leave somebody at the tank to make sure that if something happens, we shut the pumps down so we don't damage, so we don't damage the pumps.
So Maria and Mr. City Manager, you mentioned quotes right now, and both of them exceed the $60,000. So I think we'd have to be very careful on proceeding on that, because then it becomes an RFP issue. My suggestion here is that I agree. I think that in our parks, a lot of our parks need some work, and I think the important part here would be is, first of all, if that's what the cost is going to be, we're going to have to RFP, and the other part is that where are we going to get the money from and ensure that that the funding is going to be available. That's my concerns, and I'll leave that to council. Those are just the things that I would think that we'd have to look forward before moving forward. So council, would it be fair to give direction on, it's just difficult with the RFP, but to get a price overall, and the city manager present, or the parks director present where the funding would come from in order for us to proceed? Would that be too much to ask?
Mr. Mayor, that's where I was coming. That's where I was going with a request to the city manager and to the finance director, that they look at the general fund and see how much of that funding we can spend. I know we have to keep so much in the bank, and I know we need to keep so much to operate and so forth, but the city of Las Vegas has some funding that we can utilize. And I'm not talking $10, $15 million. I'm talking about $4 or $5 million that they should allocate to mayor and council, so that we can move forward, maybe even, some money towards a new city hall, $250,000 for each ward for improvements. That's $1 million. I mean, allocating at least, another $300,000 to each ward for park improvements. So, and then also another $2 million for road reconstruction to different roads in the city. So I think that funding is in our budget, within our budget, and I think that they can come up with a number that they can throw at us, and then we can come up with projects that how we can divide it, and the priority projects that we need to improve in the city of Las Vegas. Because like Councilor Case said, all our parks need upgrading of play equipment. Some of it is outdated, rusted, broken, not of any use. Sprinkler systems in different parks, gazebos in others, and it's people deserve a little bit better than that from us. So some of them still don't have canopies or picnic tables. The Gallinas River could use more of this and the other also. So I think that we can find that monies somewhere within our budgets. And I'm not talking $15 million, I'm talking $4 or $5 million that we can utilize on this. And another thing, well, I'm talking about finances, and, we do have a loan that we created 20 years ago, people of Las Vegas, and that was bonds that passed in an election to do phase 2 of the recreation center. And that, we need to have the finance director find out how much is the balance on that. And then I'm thinking it's $1 million or less. And I think we could pay that off and give the taxpayers a tax break of 0.25%. And then that would kind of set us up for the election of November of '25, to where we could pass that same 0.25% tax for road improvements. So, there's a lot to be done, but those are ways, and now we have a new finance director, and I'm sure that he can let us know exactly where that money's at, and how much of it we have to save, and how much we have to spend, and how much, can be allocated for projects like this ones. We have had a good 4 years of inclining revenues. And I'm not saying that's where it's going to stay, and I'm not saying that's where it's going up further. I'm saying, it could come down too, and we got to be cautious of the future too. But I think there's fundings there available that we can do this kind of improvements. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Montoya. So just kind of an update, councilors. Prior to assuming this role, I was working with the city manager, and I did speak to Mr. Montgomery as he came in. One thing that the city let lapse was we contract with our financial advisor, which would be, now it's up for quotes in RFP. I think that's where we're at. But I think that's the important part, is that we need to see where we are with all our bonds, our loans, and everything, and get an update. I was personally looking at the tax that the state cut down, and so, we have to be creative and find ways to fund some of these items, because based off of GRT alone doesn't pay for a lot of these stuff that we need. So just kind of an update on that. I'll continue to work with the city manager and with our finance director to try to get that done as soon as possible, so we could get that meeting and know where we're at financially. And I don't know, Mr. City Manager, I don't know if Tim's still in the room, but I don't know if you have an update. I know he was looking into it.
Yes, sir. They were working on RFP, so we can get another company to fill the shoes, or possibly even the same vendor, which was RBC, in the future.
Thank you. So getting back to the item, is there any specific direction, councilors?
Well, I would say that the direction would be to our city manager and our finance director to find what monies we can allocate to different projects throughout the city, including this sprinkler system.
Is that a motion?
Huh?
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilor Montoya, second by Councilor Casey.
Councilor Casey? Councilor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Montoya, a second by Councilor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Oh, darn, I should have voted no so that the mayor could break a tie and he could vote.
Councilors, I'm getting bored out here. Not just here. If I was sitting there, I'm just saying it's a different position from what I'm used to, right?
So Mayor, just so we're on the same page, so you gave direction to myself and our finance director.
Oops, you're frozen.
Into general fund, and then disperse those through each of the wards, correct?
Yes.
Not disperse. Bring it back to mayor and council. See what we can allocate to these projects, or whatever projects we decide.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Cassandra?
Moving on to our next item, executive session.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Montoya?
I make a motion to go into executive session in accordance with the New Mexico Meeting Act, NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1H 2, limited personnel matters discussing regarding the city manager. And H8, purchasing and acquisition of water rights, discussion of the emergency water lease agreement with Michael Quintana.
I have a motion by Councilman Montoya,
Second.
second by Councilor Casey.
Counselor Montoya? Counselor Casey? I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. We can have everybody step.
Can you just record the session and then after the fact edit the video onto YouTube to add the ending part to the meeting?
Yeah, just turn it on. Yeah, that's probably better. Okay.